Hey everybody, today we are going to talk about op art, not pop art, but op art, which is short for optical illusion art. So the supplies you'll need for today are just paper and pencil and possibly a marker or a pen, okay? Or something that is like the dark color black, like a Sharpie or something. Okay, those are the supplies you'll need. But first, we're going to learn about what op art is and how it works to create optical illusions.
Optical illusions are some of the most fascinating visual experiences to us as humans. Whether natural or man-made, they take our biological assumptions that we use every day to survive and turn them upside down. Take this one for example. Keep in mind it's a still image. Nothing about it is moving. But then why do our brains interpret it as a moving image? This illusion fools our brain into thinking there's motion because of how our eyes move. While you may think that as you look around, your eyes move fluidly and smoothly, that couldn't be anything further from the truth. Our eye movements are actually pretty jolty, and it's those small, usually unnoticeable jolts, along with the lag in our brain's visual processing, that makes this image appear to move. If you focus steadily on the center of one circle, you'll notice that the image stops moving. This hypothesis was confirmed by a 2012 study from St. Joseph's Hospital in Phoenix, Arizona. Not every illusion works the same way, but nearly every one reverse engineers our biological presets. Take a look at this one. Which square, A or B, do you think is darker? The boxes are the same color. Researchers at MIT investigated this illusion and found the reason that it works to be twofold. First, our brains are trained to recognize patterns, and due to the checkerboard, we think that the squares should naturally alternate colors. Secondly, our brains inherently understand shadows, but in the case of images, shadows darken the color of the image behind it. With these two visual predispositions programmed into our brain, we're fooled into interpreting the image like we would any 3D object, but in actuality, the squares are the same color. Optical illusions as a whole draw on a few biological problems that we have too. Our visual processing only updates about every 1/10 of a second. This is actually incredibly slow, so our brains have developed methods of stitching our visual senses together to create a flowing image. Our brains do this so that we can kill prey for food or keep ourselves from getting hurt, but visual illusions exploit this time deficiency. Diverging from physical problems, our brain has also trained itself to recognize patterns, estimate light, and essentially to fill in the gaps to what our eyes miss. All of these skills work to our benefit in normal life, but illusions take these biological predispositions and reverse engineer them to trip our brains up. To our enjoyment, of course. Take this. It's called the Ebbinghaus illusion. Those orange circles, they're the same size. Our brains do this because they have developed a method to estimate relative size based on references around an object. This helps us recognize scale at great distances, but when thrown into a 2D image, our brain gets a little confused. Now look at this circle of pink dots and stare at the cross in the center. You'll find that after a few seconds, it starts to appear that as a pink dot is removed, a green one is put in its place. This all has to do with something called Troxler's effect. As the dots move in our peripherals, they become blurred, and our brain isn't focused on processing things outside of our focus as fast. Along with this, as the dot disappears, since our brain is used to seeing the purple dot, when it's gone, it fills it in with purple's complementing color, green. In essence, green is the exact opposite of purple, so when it disappears, our brains fill it in with what it thinks should be there, as explained by Nature magazine. Why does this elephant look to have a ton of legs? Because our brains don't understand how to interpret the impossible lines in reference to our idea of what an elephant should look like. Why does this image look like there are black dots where each line crosses? Because our brains make assumptions about contrast and patterns when not in focus to help us stay safe. Why do these center lines look like different sizes? because the reference lines our brains use as scale distort its ability to measure the size of the center line. Every optical illusion exploits our brain's naturally evolved capabilities at recognizing patterns, filling in visual gaps, and otherwise helping us stay at the top of the food chain. While illusions may be fun to toy with, they actually help biologists and psychologists understand our brain to a deeper level than ever would be possible. So, next time you see an optical illusion, think of it as much more than just a fun image. It's a highly scientific trick designed to reverse engineer your biological assumptions. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Okay, let's take a moment to describe this optical illusion artwork right here. And I want you to describe what you see. For example, lines, shapes, colors, textures, value, and forms. Okay, so if you are going to start with lines, we see it's full of round lines, circular lines, okay? And I don't really see any straight lines in this picture, except for maybe this little red line here on the edges. Otherwise, the rest of the lines are circular. Okay, if we're going to talk about shapes, we see lots of different versions of circles. And sometimes the circles are overlapping and turning some of the circles into more like eye shapes or ovals. Other than that, I'm not seeing a lot of other shapes. As far as colors go, we see gray, we see blue, and we see yellow. And these red lines over here. Other than that, the colors seem to be pretty simple. It's black, white, gray, and a couple of colors. Not a lot of color variation, just those colors. As far as value goes, there is no shading that I can see in this picture. Shading from dark to light. Textures, as far as textures go, you could see it kind of looks like it feels like it has ridges, these round ridges. Otherwise, it looks pretty smooth. And there are also no forms, no three-dimensional forms in this picture. Okay, so let's move on to analyzing this. What is the same throughout this picture? There is a ton that is the exact same because it looks very accurate, very, very accurate. All of the circles and lines and shapes are exactly the same. Okay. Throughout the entire picture, the colors do not change throughout the picture. It's the same blue at the top as it is at the bottom. Same with the yellow, gray, black, and white. Okay, so if we are going to be making an artwork like this, creating an optical illusion, we know we're going to have to include some very accurate drawings of geometric shapes and lines, okay? Keeping the colors extremely simple but constant throughout. I don't see very much differences throughout this whole picture. Pretty much everything is exactly the same throughout. Okay, so if we were going to interpret this, which I usually ask you, if this was the cover of a book, what do you think the story would be about? But there probably isn't much of a story here, other than we can interpret the feeling and mood and symbolism in this artwork if we were to look at this artwork and talk about what kind, because it's very much like an abstract artwork where it's just a picture of lines, shapes, and colors. And abstract is about expressing the way you feel with those lines, shapes, and colors. So if we were comparing this to an abstract artwork and trying to figure out a mood, I would think that this mood is very playful, it's very happy because of the optical illusion and the colors and geometric shapes and the movement created by the repetition. Because if you look at this, and you might have to, look away because it's starting to give me a little bit of a headache. Look away every once in a while. You can see it looks like it's moving wherever you're not looking. unless you're staring right at the center and not moving your eyes. Other than that, there's a lot of movement. So it's very playful, like almost like carnival-like theme to this artwork. So if we're going to make an artwork like this, you know, you need paper, you need pencil. With the pencil, we're going to be drawing a lot of geometric lines, shapes, and we're going to keep the colors very simple. We might even just use black and white today and gray for our work. So get your paper, get your pencil, have an eraser, and hopefully something darker. If you don't have something darker, you can always just press harder with your pencil, but it will work better if you have like a black pen or a black marker of some kind to trace and color in your lines. Other than that, take a moment right now to get your supplies ready, and then we'll get started in just a moment. Okay, so hopefully by now you have your paper and pencil ready. I'm going to be working alongside with you today. So here's my paper. Okay, so step one, the first thing you need to do, and if you have a ruler or a straight edge, or you know, the edge of a book or something you can use, that would work out really well for this project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a box in the center of my paper. Whoops. Okay, you can do the same thing. Okay, so right now you're just drawing a square right in the middle of your paper. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment to draw a square in the middle of your paper to create our optical illusion art for today. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do that now. Okay, the next step is we're going to connect and draw a line straight across. Okay, so go ahead and do that too. Draw diagonal lines straight across your square, corner to corner. Then we're going to draw another box right here in the bottom corner. Okay. Let's see if I can shed some more light onto this. There we go. It's a little better. Is that too much? I think that makes it a little harder to see. There we go. Okay, so we start with this box. Then the next step is we're going to make these kind of rows. So on top of the box, you're going to add another box, not really a box. more like an upside down letter L. Okay, you see I just drew a vertical line and a horizontal line. And we're just going to keep adding vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal until we get to the top, okay? So you can go ahead and start adding those vertical and horizontal lines now. Okay. If you haven't already, start drawing your vertical and horizontal lines. You stop at that first diagonal line, then you draw the line straight down. Okay, it looks like I have room for about one more. Okay, so that's what it looks like in pencil so far. I am going to be switching to marker in just a moment. I'm just going to give you a minute right now to finish drawing the box, the diagonal line, and the vertical and horizontal lines. Go ahead and do that now if you haven't already. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to trace. Start tracing. Don't trace the diagonal line. Okay? If you're going to start tracing. Okay, so if you haven't already, go ahead and get something darker than a pencil, preferably a Sharpie or a pen, and start tracing your lines, maybe a black, like a regular black marker. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, you can do this along with me, is that first box right here in the corner, that very first box. What I want you to do, so I want you to trace the lines for that first box, and then color it in. Just solid black. Try to keep it as neat as possible. Remember how we talked about how everything was the same in that picture? It's because everything was nice, super nice and neat. Okay, so that's the first box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start like a checkerboard every other row. So not this one. This one's going to be white. So this next stripe is going to be a black stripe. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to color that in. Okay, so if you haven't already, start tracing the second stripe. When you're ready, okay, so then we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to skip this one, leave it white, and we're going to make this one black, a black row or a black stripe. And we're going to color it in like before. Okay, so if you haven't started tracing and coloring in your third stripe, that's what you should be doing right now. Okay, that's what it should look like at this point. Okay, so take a moment to finish up your third black stripe. I'm going to take an extra step and put colored pencil on top of those black lines that I just added. just to kind of even it out. You don't have to do this. This is just an extra step. I don't like the way all those little scribble lines from the marker look. This kind of helps get rid of it a little bit. Gives it that more nice, neat appearance. Just like all the pop art, or not pop art images that we were looking at in the videos. Not a necessary step though. Okay, you could be finishing up coloring your 3 black stripes at this point, or however many stripes you have. It doesn't really matter. Just as long as they look nice and neat. You know, if you don't have a ruler, could have used a straight edge, like the edge of a book or something. Okay, I like that better. Okay, so at this point, we're going to start shading. So you can go ahead and take out your pencil again. And what we're going to do, remember that diagonal line that we had. Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to color with your pencil just half. So this side, not that side. So start at the diagonal line and color your way down. Same thing up here. Okay, all that practice that we did with shading and gradation, here's where we're using it right now. Okay, so the first stripe at the bottom, we're going to add a little bit, we're going to shade that in a little bit darker. Okay, this would be like at the bottom of the hole. All right. And then it's getting a little bit lighter, but it's still kind of dark. Off a little bit right there. Okay, and I might actually lighten this up a little bit up here. Okay, so it should be dark, medium, and light. What you can do is your finger's going to get messy, but you can go ahead and kind of use your finger to blend that and make it look nice and smooth. Stay inside the lines, though. You don't want to smudge that outward. Okay, so check that out. Doesn't that look cool? So it kind of looks like, here, let me angle it this way. Sure, it looks the best. Actually, I think this way for you guys. Check that out. If I lay that across the table, it kind of looks like, if you're looking at it from an angle like you guys are right now, it looks like an optical illusion that I can, look, it's kind of like I'm going into the hole, right? I'm going down in there. Okay, see how that works? So that's pretty cool. And yeah, your finger does get kind of messy. So you can always watch this again online if you need to. Other than that, that is all the time we have to create an optical illusion together. We are all out of time for today. I hope you guys had fun learning about op art and making an optical illusion with me. I really look forward to seeing these all finished next time in our live Zoom. So don't forget to keep them safe and bring them to class. Other than that, we are all out of time. And I'll challenge you right now, if you can come up with another optical illusion design, I will give you extra credit over the next week, and then bring it to class to show me. Other than that, that is all the time we have. Have a great day.